It's the CalebDMTG Show.
The final section of the CalebDMTG Kaldheim set review. This has been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. And we still have some of the juiciest, the tastiest cards to go. Agar the Freezing Flame. 1 blue-red legendary creature, Giant Warrior. Whenever a creature, planeswalker, an opponent controls is dealt excess damage. If a giant wizard or spell you control dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card. Yeah. So this card's incredible. Reading it, I'm just like, bolt your thing, draw a card, right? Bolt your thing, draw a card. If you stomp a 1/1, you get to draw a card. If your opponent blocks your 4/3 Bone Crusher Giant with a 3/3, you get to draw a card, right? You're only drawing 1 extra card, turn 1 to vault. You're saying excess damage must come from trample. Is that true? Is that how it works? I don't think that's how it works. Yeah, I think it's just like more than their toughness. I think if you have a trampler, you'd actually have to like assign an extra damage to it to make sure that you got to draw a card. Yeah, that's my understanding, Cody. The trample just makes it so that excess damage goes through to the player. Trample doesn't turn it off. You can, like, change how you assign trample damage. But, I mean, you need to, like, be careful of it. Because Arena's gonna, like, automatically assign exact lethal if you have a trampler attacking. And you're gonna have to be like, no, I want to draw my card. Card, please. Storm's Wrath? Yeah, seems great with Storm's Wrath. See me reading this, I'm thinking this wouldn't be like a crazy card to play in Eternal. In like a Lightning Bolt format. Like, I just want to play a Lightning Bolt on the Birds of Paradise and draw a card. Is that so much to ask? Is that such a tall ask? And you draw off of Planeswalker kills too. So like, if you have to use a lot of burn to kill some obnoxious Planeswalker, if you have to use like 2 burn spells to kill a walker, getting to draw a card if you go over helps make up for some of it. Pitches to forces, pitches to force negation, force of will. I can see that, Elijah. Yeah, if you don't actually know anything about Norse mythology, I could see being misled. Overall, I think they did a pretty good job. A lot of like the original elements of Norse mythology have been like lifted and like put into fantasy. You think the giant is me? Oh man, it is me. Cosplay would be possible, very possible. I just have to braid a Santa beard, and I'm there. You can, J.A. Pinkerton. You can absolutely do that. If you attack with a 6/6 and your opponent blocks with 6/1/1s, you can assign 2 to 3 3/1/1s and draw 3 cards. Hey, 10x42, thanks for the sub, thanks for 47 months. Fully prepared, 10x, fully prepared. Yeah, the way it's worded, it's triggering off the creature dying. So if the combat kills multiple creatures, you should be able to kill multiple. You should be able to draw multiple cards, assuming that you're dealing excess damage. Card seems strong. Card seems hella strong. Hella strong. Hella sweet. I think I will test this in other formats. What about? So I've been playing that pitch cast red card, pyro or whatever. Getting to draw a card when you pitch cast that one to kill things seems kind of cool.
Oh shit! What up?
Hey Alan, thanks for the sub. Thanks for 8 months. Yeah, pyrokinesis. That's the one. Well, anyway, Arnie slays the troll. Green, red. As this saga enters, and after your draw step, add a lore counter. Sacrifice after 3. 1. Target creature you control fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. More fighting. So much fighting. Which is fitting. That's what a lot of the sagas had. A lot of what the sagas was going on. If you read in the Old Norse shit. A lot of brutal battles. I was actually reading about... I was reading a saga excerpt about Norse medicine. We don't know like a ton about Norse medicine, but there's a scene where an injured warrior comes back from battle, and the injured warrior like gives his ring to the maiden nurse that's tending him, and tells her it's a good gift because the king had given him this ring for his valor in battle. And he gives her the ring for taking care of him, and she's trying to deal with this barb that's in his stomach. And she has him eat something, so that when the food, like she has him eat something that's pretty pungent, so that when it goes to his stomach, she can smell the wound, and if there's a hole in his stomach, she'll be able to smell it by the wound, and thus know that his stomach's been ruptured. But if she doesn't smell it, then she knows that his stomach is fine, and he doesn't have internal bleeding in that area. Which, I don't know if that actually works medically, but that's kind of an epic thing to have included in a saga, right? That's kind of brutal. And then she is like messing around with the wound, and she can't actually like get a pliers on it because it's so messy. There's so much blood and stuff. She can't get a full hold on it. And so he instructs her to like cut it open until she can get a grip on it with the metal, and that he would grab it and he would pull it out because he was stronger, you know. And he rips it out, and there's like parts of his innards on there, and he sees it and he knows he's gonna die, and but he's still like awake, so he can say his like final words after ripping out this metal barb from his body. Anyway, sweet shit. Sorry about the diatribe, the tangent here. I was just reminded. We're reading about sagas, right? It's kind of related. Alright, so 1, target creature you control fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. 2, add red. Put 2 1/1 counters on up to 1 target creature you control. Okay, so you're getting mana. The first turn you play this, you could potentially run this out on turn 2 without anything to fight or whatever, and just ignore that value. And then turn 2, go up to 4 mana, and just use it as a Lotus Petal. If you have a 1-drop, you're also getting 2 1/1 counters on a creature. I think this card actually makes 1-drops look a little bit more exciting, right? Just play a 1-drop on 1, fire off Arnie on 2. On turn 3, your 1-drop is now a 3/3, and you're ramping to 4 mana. And then the 3 is you gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Okay, that part's less exciting. The first 2 modes of this seem like really good for limited. It doesn't seem like a constructed card to me, but certainly a fine reason to be in red-green. Pull you in that direction. Ascent of the Worthy, 1 white, black. As this saga enters, and after your draw step, add a lore counter. Sacrifice after 3. 1 and 2 are choose a creature you control. Until your next turn, all damage that will be dealt to creatures you control is dealt to that creature instead. So it's a little pariah effect. But you can't enchant the opponent's creatures. You have to control it. And then 3 is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a flying counter on it. That creature is an angel warrior in addition to its other types. So some people love this card. I know, because some people love Pariah way more than they should. I know some people are gonna like really love this card. I think it's awful. I would not be really excited to play it in any format, including limited. It's a fog, right? Well, you've got like a weird fog effect that also makes you kill your things. After the 3rd saga, you do get to rebuy a creature. So now your reanimation spell takes several turns. Like, I would rather just play a reanimation spell. And I don't think reanimation spells are that good in limited. And you certainly don't want to wait several turns to play one in constructed. So I just don't see a home for this. You never play this early. Yeah, you never play this early, and then it takes too long to do something late. Oh yeah, if you could target your opponent's creatures, it'd be a lot more messed up. I understand why they didn't let you target your opponent's creatures. Alright, Battle for Britigard. 1 green, white. First story of the saga. Create a 1/1 white human warrior creature token. Sure. Then 2, you get a 1/1 elf. Yeah, deal. 2 1/1s. And then the last one is choose any number of artifact tokens and or creature tokens you control with different names for each of them. Create a token that's a copy of it. Oh, this card's sweet. So assuming your stuff lives, assuming they don't kill your human and your elf, then like worst case scenario, you're getting 4 1/1s. Which is already pretty solid for 3 mana. You take a little bit of time to get to them. But when you play multiples of this card, I guess multiples of this card doesn't really do much, because it's for different names. But you're playing this with other tokens, right? Like your 3 mana 5/5 beast. That just also gives you a human token, right?
May we have your attention, please?
I think if you're only playing this to get 4 1/1s, it might not be good enough, because sometimes they're gonna die. But if you have other tokens, if you have other different names of tokens in your deck, then it might be good enough. Obviously, this is good enough for limited. It's not a bomb, because you get bricked by, you know, a 2/2 with all your 1/1s. If you don't have like a way of taking advantage of going wide. The Chariot, yeah, I mean, you get another cat. I'm not super sure that the cat chariot's gonna be constructed playable though. Shittier Benalia, oh yeah. I mean, you can't really compare things to Benalia. Benalia was like a standard staple. For a long time, right? I'd be surprised if they just like threw in a card that was better than Benalia, or like the same goodness for like the same casting cost. And a mythic, yeah. BC as me says that the last card isn't Pariah because it just prevents damage to your creatures, not to you. Oh, so it's worse than... Ascent of the Worthy is worse than I thought it was. Cool. Thanks for the note. Already thought it was unplayable. You like Battle for Britigard for Celestia tokens? Yeah. I mean... It's hard to imagine that there's going to be a Celestia tokens deck in Standard, but if there is one, if you have enough different token types, then the doubling starts to become really good. You don't need to have very many other types for the 3 to start becoming like kind of ridiculous. You do want some, though. Anyway, we move on to the next card. Battle of Frost and Fire, 3 blue-red. 1, Battle of Frost and Fire deals 4 damage to each non-giant creature and each planeswalker. So the turn you play this, you get a nice little sweeper effect. And the 2 is Scry 3. Also useful. Scrying 3 after you've already drawn your card, though. A little awkward, but it sets up for the next turn, which is 3. Whenever you cast a spell, we convert a mana cost 5 or greater this turn. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card. So Battle of Frost and Fire deals 4 damage to each non-giant creature in each planeswalker. Someone pointed out that that this doesn't kill Lovestruck Beast, which is technically true, but it kills the, you know, the stupid 1/1. So you're at least like not getting attacked that turn. I mean, in your Jeskai or blue-red giant tribal deck, this card fits in pretty well. It's not especially bad outside of giant tribal too, but it is a lot better if it's like leaving your creatures in play to attack them. It gets pretty bad if your opponent's playing giants. That's not ideal. You're probably not going to play 4. You probably don't want 4 of a 5-mana sweeper. It might even be a sideboard card. But the amount of value that you're getting afterwards is nice. It means it's not dead against control decks. Works well with the giant from before. Which giant? It doesn't work with the damage doubling giant because it's not a giant source. Battle of Frost and Fire. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It might be a sideboard card. If it doesn't actually like kill your opponent's things, then it's a lot worse. But I mean, that's what sweepers are like, right? Some sweepers would just be dead if your opponent's not playing anything to hit. And this is a sweeper that can also hit planeswalkers and draw you cards and scry and stuff. I could see playing like 1 or 2 in the main and 1 on the board. Oh, the excess damage one, the one that we were looking at today. You're right, it is very good. And you like curve one into the other. You play this one out, and then do whatever on turn 4, and play this and like draw a few cards. Yeah, this draws you a few cards off of Aegir, like the turn that you play it. That's really exciting, actually. Good, but a little pricey. Yeah, a little pricey for dealing 4 damage to each non-giant. Oh, they don't work because a giant is, because it's not a spell, it's a saga. Yeah, just kidding. I was just kidding. Forget everything that I said about Battle of Frost and Fire with Aegir. It's not a thing. It was a test. You passed, Chad. The test was, do you know what a spell is? Alright, the Bears of Littjara. 1 green, blue. 1, create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. Alright, that's kind of sweet. Sorry if it's like tribal decks. Could be an elf. 2 mana, or I'm sorry, the second lore, whatever. Add any number of target shapeshifter creatures you control have base power and toughness 4/4. Alright, so it turns your 2/2 into a 4/4, if you have any others. I don't know if you're doing Shapeshifter Tribal here. Choose up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. Each creature with power 4 or greater you control deals damage equal to its power to that permanent. What a weird card. I don't think it's good. I think your 2 has to have like other shapeshifters before this starts to look good. Like, you're building a 4/4. You're just playing this by itself. You're building a 4/4. And then if they don't kill a 4/4, you get to fight something. Or it's not a fight, but then you get to kill something. Second chapter. Right. All your shapeshifters turn into 4/4s permanently. Yeah, how many shapeshifters are you playing in Constructed? Obviously, this is limited bomb. Like, there's enough like common shapeshifters that you just want to jam into your deck that are totally reasonable. That this is a nutty card, but it's also a rare. So every time I see rares in Mythics, I start thinking like, is this playable in Standard? I don't think this one is. Even though the card's awesome. The Bears of Littjara. Mutavault, yeah. You can activate your Mutavault on your upkeep or whatever. Anyway, next card. Binding the Old Gods. 2 green, black. 1, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. Already a good card. How bad would the other 2 abilities have to be for this to be bad? Alright, 2 is search your library for a force card, put it in the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Yep, card's good. And then 3 creatures you control gain death touch until end of turn. Alright, that's a little less useful, but the card's valued. The third ability is probably irrelevant, but it might let you get some juicy attack in. Hello, Yorion. Yeah, right? Just blink it. Yorion already has EDC, though. This card's not better than EDC. The first chapter is already costed appropriately. Yeah, I mean, for 4 mana, you're blowing up a, You're blowing up a Planeswalker or something, or a creature, and then you get to put a land into play. You're saying if there's an elf deck, then the 3 is okay? Yeah. there's the Death Touch Tribal guy. The 2 mana 1/3, where your Death Touch adds 2 poison counters. Probably not a constructed worthy interaction. Someone's gonna get fucking destroyed and limited. Someone's gonna take... They're gonna be at like 30 life or something and get hit by 5/1/1s after Binding of the Old Gods pops off. And they'll just die to poison in 2021. The saga art is gorgeous. I'm pretty sure this saga was done as a sculpture too. I don't think this was a painting, and that's why that's why it looks so 3-dimensional, and that's why the shadow effects are so realistic. Super ambitious piece. A wood carving, yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant by sculpture. But yeah, you right. You right. A wood etching, much more specific. Really cool. You want that as a tattoo? I mean, kind of a cool tattoo. Anyway, the Blood Sky Massacre. 1 black, red. Create a 2/3 red demon berserker creature token with menace. Okay, that's a good start for a 3-mana saga. 2 is whenever a berserker attacks this turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Sure. So you're ideally playing this in like your berserker tribal deck. You don't need like all of your creatures to be berserkers though, just so long as you have some. Your first one, like drawing you a card for a turn, is okay, but it's not good enough by itself, right? Ideally, the second ability would draw you like 2 cards at least. And then the 3s, you add red for each berserker you control until end of turn. You don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so you're just trying to take advantage of having multiple aggressive berserker things. This card works really well in multiples, because the second and third abilities reward you for having more berserkers, and each one you play, you're getting another berserker. So this is like a great card to have as a 4-up in your deck. My love for you is like a truck berserker. Would you like some making fuck berserker? Anyway.
Oh shit, what up?
Yeah, I think this card's sweet. I think this card's good too. Obviously, you need to have playable berserkers to make it work, but yeah. Seems like there's a lot in this format. Seems like there's a lot in this set. Hey, Power Pie, thanks for the sub. Thanks for 25 months. Fall of the Imposter. 1 green, white. Put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature. Sure. And then 3 is exile a creature with the greatest power among creatures target opponent controls. Yeah, I think this is just like a fine limited value card, right? A removal spell with Suspend would be fine in limited, so getting a few 1/1 counters on top of it is totally reasonable, totally fine, totally good. But you're not playing this in constructed. Furia, Judge of Valor, 2 white, black, legendary creature, Angel Cleric, flying lifelink. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. That's like a really good ability. I guess that's why you're spending 5 mana on a 2/4. Like, it's not just draw a card, right? It's not just like when you play your second spell, draw a card. You're getting graveyard value and selection. If this was 4 mana for a 3/4 flyer, I'd be excited about playing this in Constructed. Anticipate? Well, I mean, it's better than Anticipate. Yeah, the selection is interesting in black-white. I guess it's because the cards go to your graveyard. That's like enough of a black ability. 5 seems like a lot for a setup card. I don't think it's too much for limited. I think this is like a really good limited card. Like, this is a pack 1, pick 1, draft this, get value out of it, win the game. So like 5 mana is a lot, even in limited, but you're also getting a 2/4 flying lifelink, which is like kind of hard to attack into. Your opponent needs like a very large creature to attack through it. And then you get to smack them back for 2, gain some of that life back. And on after turn 5, like, it should be pretty easy to immediately like play 2 spells, get value off of this. You don't need to trigger this card very many times before you've gotten like a lot of value. So 5 mana is a little bit much for Constructed, a little bit much for the body that it has. It's not costed for Constructed, even though the ability is like a Constructed great ability. The stats just aren't there, but great limited card. Alright, Furious Retribution. 1 white, black. 1, create a 4/4 white Angel Warrior creature token with flying and vigilance. 2, until end of turn, angels you control gain tap, destroy target creature with power less than this creature's power. And then the third is your angels you control gain double strike until end of turn. So this is another saga that plays really well with multiple copies of itself, right? Kind of similar to the Blood Sky Massacre. Yeah, maybe there is going to be like a junk tokens deck, huh? We were talking about how the green-white, the battle for Bredegard really rewards you for having different token names. And so, like, using it to generate more angels seems like it could be a winning strategy. The tap ability does synergize really well with the vigilance, yeah. And the ability it doesn't kill everything, right? It's destroy target creature with power less than this creature's power. But a 4/4 angel is probably going to murder most things with that ability. Junk sagas. Yeah, junk sagas, junk tokens. You want to blink this with Yorion? Yeah, sure. Why not? Why not? Get more 4/4s. Are you being sarcastic, AJ? It seemed like people were screaming that at me when I was already covering battle. You remember when Sarah Angel cost 5? Yeah. Yeah. Sarah Angel, of course, would not see Constructed play these days. In a perfect world, Yorion would be an angel. I'm pretty glad that Yorion isn't an angel. I'm pretty happy with that, actually. Yeah, this card should probably see some play, huh? Do we think Furious Retribution's a top 5 card in the format? Top 5 constructed card. This one's also Woodard. Cool. Yeah, I don't think I caught that. I don't think I caught the Woodard for it. It looks really clean, though. Top 10 for sure, if not top 5. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, if it doesn't make the top 5, then it's in the top 10. You think the mana is tough? Well, if you're playing this in junk, then you're probably like base green-white, with black being your lighter color. And if you're just playing this in black-white, then you don't really care about the mana. One thing about having green as the third color is that green is really good with colors. Show the art. Does anyone have a link handy? I might be able to find it real quick. Yeah, no. I tried. Well, it's gonna be a limited bomb, because I mean a 4/4 flyer for 4 mana is a limited bomb already. And then you can get a removal spell out of it too. It's pretty nutty.
Oh shit, what up?
Hey, no shame. Thanks for the sub. Thanks for sharing the prime. Alright, forging the Tyrite Sword. 1 red, white. 1, you get a treasure token. 2, you get a treasure token. Oh man, you only need 4 treasure tokens. Or sorry, you only need 5 treasure tokens for your for the Dwarf Lord to be able to sack to go get any artifact from your deck. And this spits out 2. My brain is just trapped there. It's just trapped on Dwarf Treasure Tribal. After we reviewed red. But anyway, first 2 are giving you treasure tokens. The third is search your library for a card named Halvar, God of Battle, or an equipment card. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. So it's a Stoneforge Mystic for Halvar specifically. This card's cute. It does cute things. I don't think it's going to be a constructed card. It'd be really fun if you could pull that off in Limited, though. Put it in hand, boo. Yeah, right? If this put it into play, that'd be a little bit more interesting. It takes enough time. It tutors for Embercleave. Yeah, but I mean, don't you just, like, play 4 Embercleaves and draw it often enough? Like, do you really need to tutor for that one? Also, with Embercleave, you want to curve out with your creatures. You don't want to spend 3 mana to make a treasure. Alright, Herald, King of Skemfar. 1 black, green, legendary creature, elf warrior. Menace. When Herald, King of Skemfar enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an elf, warrior, or Tyvar card from among them and put them in your hand for the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. What the fuck is a Tyvar card again? Was that a card that we talked about earlier? I'm so bad with names. It seems like a specific card. Yeah, is it just Tyvar Kel? Is that all it's getting? This card's good. So it's 3 mana for a 3/2 menace, and then you look at the top 5 cards of your library and get an elf, or a warrior, or a Tyvar card. So you... I don't know. Is Jund Warriors gonna be a thing? Well, this is Berserker anyway. You're probably just doing this with elves. That's fine though, huh? Like, I'm thinking about like the stats on Elvish Visionary, and looking at the top 5 cards and like filtering for an elf or grabbing Tyvar seems better than just drawing a card. Like 3 mana 3/2 elf that draws a card, I'd be pretty happy, and this feels a lot better than that. So obviously it has the stats for limited, and I think the stats are there for constructed too. But maybe I'm too used to playing like 2 mana 1/1s that draw a card in my elf decks. maybe this will be a different brand of elf deck that doesn't want this, but I think it will. It's a little awkward that it's a legend, so you're kind of punished for playing 4. But you could get away with 2 or 3 for sure. Will a changeling card in your deck count as an elf to pick up with Herald? Yes. Yes, it will. Alright, Herald unites the elves. 2 black-green. 1, mill 3 cards. You may put an elf or Tyvar card from your graveyard onto the battlefield. Ooh. Ooh. 2, put a 1/1 counter on each elf you control. Oh my. And then 3 is whenever an elf you control attacks this turn, target creature an opponent controls Gets -1 until end of turn. Sweet.
Oh shit, what up?
Yeah, maybe elves will be good in the standard. Maybe the support is there. Because, like, Tyvar spitting out elves, and this card rebuying Tyvars. I mean, there might just be, like, enough recursion and value that you're not super weak to sweepers, which is usually what elves is weak to, is sweeper effects. Like, number 2 and number 3 on this card don't do anything if you don't have any elves in play. But the first ability, like, rebuys your planeswalker that spits out elves, so maybe that's not an issue. Hey, Yuriko's wife, thanks for the sub. 35 months. Are elves allergic to shirts? Yeah, I mean, if you lived in a tree in the middle of the woods, would you wear a shirt? If you had abs like that, would you wear a shirt, or would you just wear the sweet cape? I'm not judging. I'm not complaining. The Elf Midnight Reaper to stop sweepers. Yeah. Let me look at that card again real quick. It's like each other Berserker you have or whatever. In black. That 2-mana thing. Oh, this one, yeah. Whenever another non-token elf or berserker you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Right, so the ability doesn't do anything with Tyvar, and it says another, so it's not drawing a card off itself. But you're right that this does, like, help you not get punished for overcommitting into a sweeper. It's like, yeah, 1 more card. Cool. Yeah, it'll be fun to try. Immersturm Predator, 2 black-red, creature vampire dragon flying. When Immersturm Predator becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and put a 1/1 counter on Immersturm Predator. Sacrifice another creature, Immersturm Predator gains indestructible until end of turn, tap it. So part of becoming tapped is, like, you could just be declaring it as an attacker. So when you attack, it attacks as a 4/4 as opposed to a 3/3. Assuming that it has a card in a graveyard to exile. And then it's also, like, pretty resilient due to the second ability. The second of the creature, give it indestructible. The card sort of reminds me of the 4-mana 4/1. Where if you sacked a human, it would get a 1/1 counter, and if you sacked a creature, it became indestructible or whatever. That card had haste, though. Haste is a real big deal. I think without haste, you don't have a playable card. Yeah, Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. That card saw a ton of play. Gobs of play. Oh, you don't need to exile to get the 1/1. It says exile up to 1 target card. Okay, sure. I guess if you get to attack with it, it could maybe exile in a row. The timing would have to line up well. You can tap a tapped creature, not as part of, like, paying a cost, but that's not what the sacrifice ability does. You can, like, attack with this and then sack a creature for the second ability, if that's what your question is. It doesn't do anything. Oh, you just sack a creature right away to hit the arrow. I see what you're saying. So you can play this, sack a creature immediately, and then that'll tap it, and then you can exile the card immediately. It makes the timing a lot less tricky for exiling an arrow. Yeah, that's a little bit more exciting. God, it's weird to think of this card as, like, a potential sideboard card. Like, maybe you want to board in your 4-mana 3/3 flyer as a graveyard hate spell. But maybe that's not bad if you have enough bodies to sack anyway. Maybe it's not the worst thing ever. It gets in the way of Rankle, too. It makes Rankle look kind of putrid. Same with Questing Beast. It lines up well against Questing Beast. It always does get the counter, even if it doesn't exile something, yeah. When I first read it, I thought that you would have to exile something. But it says exile up to one card from a graveyard and put a 1/1 counter. So you can exile 0 things and get the 1/1 counter. Hey, 406 lol, thanks to the sub, thanks to 4 months. Yeah, maybe I underestimated this card with my first read. I think that's how my brain is wired. My brain's wired to be pessimistic or something. Most cards don't end up seeing a lot of constructed play, so then that like weights things. But this definitely does line up against some of the better cards in the format, right? Uro and Questing Beast and Rankle and all that. Most cards are bad. Yeah, most cards are bad is one way to think about it. But I think this card's stats line up well. Line up pretty well. And red black sack is going to have all the bodies to feed to the predator too. Walks like a champ, attacks fine. Yeah. Goes into the Corvold deck. Yeah, I mean, Corvold's curve is such that I don't think you can afford to play a ton of this card. But maybe you play like one in the main, one in the sideboard, or like a couple in the sideboard and just bring them in for the appropriate matchup. What Doth Life says that some people overlook that it's a 4/4 the first time it attacks. I think it's actually, there's a good chance that it's more than that, right? Like if you sack a creature the first turn you play it, then it attacks as a 5/5. You think a lot of thought was put into this dragon? I think so too. Yeah. The fact, just like how well it matches up against some of the more dominant mythics in the current standard, does give me that impression. You feel like you're going to lose a lot to it in limited? Yeah, I don't know, maybe. I mean, is it that much better than like any other limited flyer in terms of limited play? Like it still like dies to a pacifism effect or whatever. Anything else you'd lose to some giant flyer? It does keep growing, so you can't just like put a reach creature in front of it. Certainly a bomb. Any giant flyer is going to be a bomb. There's the common black removal exiles, yeah. There's a blue common removal spell that like keeps something permanently tapped. The fact that there's a few different answers at common is really nice. I don't think this card's nearly as unbeatable and limited as Dream Trawler. For a few different reasons. The lack of life gain means you can actually race it. The fact that you can target it means that like pacifism works and stuff, like we were saying. Yeah, I wouldn't compare it to Dream Trawler at all. I think this is a reasonable limited bomb to have in the format. Alright, we can move on. Invasion of the Giants. Blue-red. The first is Scry 2. That's not a bad first. So not bad number 1. Then 2 is draw a card. Then you may reveal a giant card from your hand. When you do, Invasion of the Giants deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Well, drawing a card's not bad. 2 mana to scry 2 and draw a card is already reasonable. Revealing a giant to shock a player or planeswalker is not exciting. That doesn't excite me. It could add up though, if you have like a bunch of effects that are shocking the opponent. You reveal your giant and then you stomp them, you know. You get a whole bunch of shocks, and then the next giant you cast this turn costs 2 less to cast. Okay, so there's a ramp spell at the end of the filtering and stuff. I don't know. I feel like this is a card that's worth testing out, and it might end up like not doing enough, or it might end up being like a nice little role player that makes your giant draws a lot smoother. It might be that giants just don't have enough to do on turn 2. This ends up being like the perfect card. I'm guessing that it's like not quite good enough, but maybe I'm underestimating the cost reduction. At 2 mana, it's pretty sweet. Yeah, the fact that you're only spending 2 mana when you might not be doing anything else that turn anyway. Great in limited if you have giants. I don't think you need very many giants to play this in limited. Your blue-red deck that's playing this probably has giants in it anyway. But like, scry 2 and draw a card is a perfectly fine limited card. It's not a draw to be in blue-red. But I think most of your blue-red decks can play this for sure, whether they have giants in them or not. You wish the number 2 hit creatures. Yeah, if the number 2 hit creatures, I think this would be an exciting card. But you're right, it might be too good at uncommon then. Anyway, Carter Doomscourge. 2 black-red, legendary creature, Demon Berserker. What if it, like, icy tapped a creature instead of dealing 2 damage to something? Well, anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's do Carter Doomscourge. 2 black-red, legendary creature, Demon Berserker. When it enters the battlefield, until your next turn, creatures your opponent control attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. Whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Yeah, this is like, it seems like it's clearly designed for EDH play, right? It seems good and limited. Force your opponent's creatures to attack, block how you like, punish them, demon it up, berserker it up. I don't think it has Omen constructed though. Carter's Vicious Return, 2 black-red. 1, you may sack a creature. When you do, it deals 3 damage to any target. 2, each player discards a card. And 3 is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a 1/1 counter on it. It gains haste until your next turn. So I think this card is better than it looks. Like when it comes into play, ideally you get to kill something. Ideally you have some creature you don't mind sacrificing. And then the 2 sets you up for 3, right? 2, discard your giant fatty, and then 3, you get your giant fatty back. So a lot of people, when they're playing a reanimation spell, they want the creature to come into play immediately. And there's a good reason for that. Like if you have your reanimation spell with suspend, then those are turns that your creature isn't in play, having an impact on the board. Something that this card kind of makes up for is 1, it enables the reanimation with each player discarding. So it's like a neat little package. And then 2, when it gains the creature back, it gains haste. So if the creature didn't have haste anyway, if you're reanimating some big chonker, gaining haste is sort of like you had reanimated it the turn sooner. You're getting the same amount of damage as if you had reanimated it the turn sooner without haste. You don't get to block for that turn. You know, it's not quite as good, but it kind of makes up for it a little bit. I could see a bad standard reanimator deck wanting this. And I think this card could be good for the right limited deck too. Probably not a high pick, but I could be wrong. Historic Reanimator with Stitches Supplier and like Dracuzeth. Yeah, I mean, in Historic, it's hard to like play a 4-drop and then not actually get your thing back for several turns, but giving Dracuzeth haste is pretty sweet. Can't grab an opponent's creature. Yeah. Yeah, I think the casting cost is going to be a little restrictive. Probably not quite there. Interesting, but probably not quite there. Alright, Kaya the Inexorable. 3 white-black. Legendary Planeswalker Kaya. +1, put a Ghost Forward counter on up to 1 target non-token creature. It gains when this creature dies or is put into exile. Return it to its owner's hand and create a 1/1 white spirit token with flying. I have to reread that. Put a Ghost Form counter on 1 target non-token creature. It gains when this creature dies or is put in exile. Turn it to its owner's hand. Okay, so if you want to like block to protect the Kaya, then you like get value, right? Like target your chumper, and then when it dies, it goes back to your hand. You get a 1/1. Then the -3 is exile target non-land permanent. Not a surprising ability for Kaya to have. And then the -7 is you get an emblem with the bane of your upkeep. You may cast a legendary spell from your hand, from your graveyard, or from among cards you own in exile. without paying its mana cost. That's a very good -7. Yeah, 5 mana is a lot. 5 mana is a lot for a Planeswalker. And the +1, I think, is too situational for this card to be worth it. Seems like a 5 mana removal spell. Seems really similar to a 5 mana removal spell, yeah. Which, I mean, maybe that's what you want, but that's really what you want in Constructed. ECD has to be better than this. I agree. I also think that ECD is better than this. It seems like we're largely in agreement. We can move on to the next thing. King Narfi's Betrayal. 1 blue-black. That's some sick-ass art. 1. Each player mills 4 cards. Then you may exile a creature or planeswalker card from each graveyard. And then 2, until end of turn, you may cast spells from among cards exiled with King Narfi's Betrayal. You may spend mana as though we're mana of any color to cast those spells. That's kind of sweet. So this is better than card draw, because you're getting, like, your best creature planeswalker from your top 4 cards, and then your opponent's best creature planeswalker from their top 4 cards. This could just be a sideboard card for control mirrors. But getting 2 planeswalkers sounds awesome. That sounds like that could be really cool. Just a little finicky. Not every deck is going to have something that you're going to want to recur. And if you're only getting stuff from your library, it might not be consistent enough. Top 4 cards or cards already in graveyard. Well, you mill 4 cards to make sure that players have something in a graveyard, but you can exile a creature or planeswalker from each graveyard. And it's the exiled cards that you choose from King Narfi's Betrayal. You have 2 turns to play them. So if your opponent played like a creature or a planeswalker that you killed earlier, or like you're getting your best creature or planeswalker and you're getting their best creature and planeswalker out of their graveyard, you do have to spend the mana to cast those cards, but you have several turns to cast them. You like it in Rogues? Maybe. Rogues does value the milling. Rogues versus Control? Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about it for Control Mirrors, but that sounds fine to me too. Yeah. Get back your best thing. Get their best thing. Mill them for him. Cole the Forge Master. Red, white, legendary creature, Dwarf Warrior. Whenever another... Oh, does King Narfi's turn off the 3-mana 3/2 though? Yeah, you lose Luris. I think you would rather have Luris against a control opponent from the rogue side than have this card in your deck. Luris is really good against control decks. Maybe not quite the correct shell then. Alright, Cole the Forge Master. Red, white, legendary creature, Dwarf Warrior. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. And then creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. So this is a good card in limited with like auras and equipment. It means your creatures just like don't die, right? Hard to make it work in Constructed. But if you're doing like dwarf equipment stuff, maybe it's worth. Yeah, it'd be a little bit more powerful if the second line wasn't only tokens. Anyway, we move on to the next thing. Coma Cosmos Serpent. 3 green, blue. Legendary creature Serpent. This spell can't be countered. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Coma's Coil. Sacrifice another serpent, choose one. Tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. So that could include a planeswalker, right? You could sack a 3/3 or some smaller serpent that you had in play already to take a Planeswalker out of activation for the turn, and then the second ability is you can sacrifice it to... You can sacrifice a Serpent to give Coma indestructible until end of turn. So this card can't be countered. It's good against sweepers. It's good against Planeswalkers. And it generates 3/3s every turn. Hey, Dr. God Carl, thanks for the sub. Thanks for the 46 months. Appreciate you. You don't think this card's good enough to see play outside of EDH? I agree. And that's due to the main downside of the card, in that it costs 7 and doesn't have any form of evasion or anything like that. Maybe you've got a blue-green ramp deck, and you've got a hole for an anti-controlled card post-board, and you board in like a couple of these. But that's not like a standard staple, right? That's not a main deck card. I feel like this doesn't read like a main deck card. I could be wrong. Maybe the 3/3s are good enough at like gumming up the board against aggro decks that you don't mind having a copy in the main. You don't mind paying 7 mana for it. 7 mana is a lot. 7 mana is an ass load. What doth life? I don't think Fey of Wishes can get creatures. Unbeatable and limited? Super unbeatable and limited, yeah. It is each upkeep. You're getting a 3/3 on their turn and your turn. Ugin is 7, gets played a ton. I mean, Ugin's 8, but yeah, it does get played a ton. The thing about Ugin is that it's better against everybody. Just every opponent. It's never dead. It's always good. Nissa and Oko also make 3/3s. Well, Oko's not in standard. And the 3/3s don't really interact with it, aside from like trading with opposing 3/3s. You sacrifice Serpent creatures. So you don't care if the Serpents you're sacking are 3/3s or 1/1s or what have you. You think it'd be playable with Flash? It'd be a little bit more interesting with Flash, but I don't know if that would tip the scales for me. I think to play this card, I would need to have something to do with it that's like a little bit cheaper than 7 mana, and then I'd want it to like gain life when it came into play, and maybe do something that's a little bit more universal than spitting out 3/3s. Something that's like more universally good, like if it could draw cards. Chat's a bunch of negative Nellies. Yeah. I mean, part of that's my fault. I have been talking down the card. I can see homes for it though. I just don't think it's going to be a standard powerhouse. Do I mean it'd be better if it was a Hydroid Krasis? Yeah, Hydroid Krasis or Uro, right? I've been spoiled. I've been spoiled by the green chonkers lately. Is Lotus Cobra a Serpent? Yeah, that's a good question. How many cards in Standard are Snakes versus Serpents? I think I have Moto fired up, yeah. I'm gonna do a quick Serpent check. Can sack your Yorion. And whatever the fuck this is. You can make something a Serpent with Startling Development and sack it. Or your Serpent of Yawning Deaths. I really like the art on Serpent of Yawning Deaths. Those big sea creatures. Stonecoil Serpent, not a Serpent. It says snake on it. Serpents are apparently very narrow. This one's called Serpent. Its name is literally Serpent, and then its artifact creature Snake. And then and over here, you got yourself a bird Serpent. You got everything in the world could be a Serpent except for the actual Serpent card. Maya Bridigard Protector, 2 green, white, legendary creature, human warrior. Man, so the other music we were listening to was too hype, and then I feel like this is too chill. Bumming me out a little bit. My Operated Guard Protector, 5 mana, legendary creature, human warrior. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, get a 1/1 white human warrior creature token. So obviously not a constructed card, costing 5 mana. This card reminds me of the other 5 mana uncommon that we looked at. Super powerful, doesn't have the stats for constructed. Really, really good in limited. Limited bomb that can like point you in the direction of being in these colors. It's like a good reason to go into those colors. Oh, you're saying it's a good human for Winota? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, as a Winota hit, I kind of see it. Because then you're not spending the mana, right? You're not spending the 5 mana to play it. It just comes into play and, like, buffs your team. Anyway. Marit of the Frost. 2 green, blue, blue. Legendary snow creature, Shapeshifter, Changeling. You may have Marit of the Frost enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's a legendary and snow in addition to its other types. If it's a creature, it enters with 2 additional 1/1 counters on it and has Changeling. So it's a clone, but it has to be a copy of a permanent you control. It's 5 mana. The art is really dope. Aggressively medium. That's kind of what I was thinking. It is uncommon. Any permanent if that does anything? Yeah, kind of. I mean, sometimes you want to copy a sweet land or something. Seems worse than the other 5 mana uncommons. I agree. It does seem worse. It's certainly playable, and it's like a thing. If you're doing the snow thing, it's a snow thing. It doesn't excite me though. Narfi, Betrayer King, 3 blue, black. Legendary snow creature, zombie wizard. Other snow and zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. And then for 3 snow, you can return Narfi from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Well, that's pretty dope. A zombie payoff and a snow payoff. I like it. Yes, up, Opera. Are Changelings great in Winota or horrible in Winota? Changelings are hits. The Changelings in Winota, you would just treat Changelings like humans, right? Because they're not going to trigger Winota when you attack, but they are hits for Winota. So mostly they're going to be bad. I don't think the Changelings have excited me as like Winota hits. Anyway, Nico Aris, X, white, blue, blue, legendary planeswalker Nico. When Nico enters the battlefield, create X shard tokens. They're enchantments with 2 mana, sacrifice this enchantment, scry 1, then draw a card. Well, that's pretty juicy. Very expensive, but juicy. +1, up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Whenever that creature deals damage this turn, return it to its owner's hand. Alright. Sure. -1. Nico deals 2 damage to target tapped creature for each card you've drawn this turn. So if you crack a shard, then the -1 is going to deal 4 damage instead of just 2. And then the -1 is to make a shard token. You have very clunky planeswalker, very expensive. Because usually when you play a planeswalker, like that's your investment. And you get whatever value you get. Whereas with this planeswalker, you kind of need the mana to crack shards. And cracking shards is very good. It's a good effect. Scry 1, then draw a card. I've played enough tireless trackers, and I mean, I've cracked enough clues in my day. Overall, I don't think this card's gonna see a lot of play though. Has a soul patch, so therefore it's unplayable. Well, that wasn't my reasoning. just the mana investment's rough. You think it's strong in standard? Maybe I'm underrating it. Obviously it's powerful. Obviously, like, drawing a pile of cards is powerful. And there are ways to just, like, have gobs of mana. There are ways to have plenty of mana. You do need a lot of mana, though. And for this to realistically impact the board, how much mana do you need? Like, say every time you wanted to play Nico Aris, you also wanted to downtick to deal 4 damage to a creature. Like, I guess you could play this for 3 mana and then just -1 to deal 2 damage to a tapped creature, if that's all you have. Because you've drawn your 1 for turn. But if you want to crack a shard too, then you need to play this for 4, and then 2 on top of that, so you have to play 6 mana. And then you have a 2 mana Planeswalker and no shards left. Or 2 loyalty Planeswalker. That's a good point. If you put a ton of mana into Nico, and it just gets answered immediately, you still have these shards around to get value out of. This is not very efficient at interacting with the board. And the +1 doesn't do anything in a control shell. We do have a 1/1 white Wrath. Okay. I don't think that necessarily gives you enough time to Dirtle this hard. Certainly no Sphinx's Rev. Yeah, the cards that I would compare this to are like Sphinx's Rev and Tireless Tracker. Those are both like absurd cards. So a card has room to be worse than those cards and still be playable. I'm just skeptical. Right now I'm a skeptic. I'm ready to believe. I'm ready to like lose to this card super hard and become a believer. But right now I'm a skeptic. Nico Defies Destiny, 1 white blue. When you gain 2 life for each foretold card you own in exile. That's kind of cool. A little bit of payoff for spending mana to like exile your hand. If you foretell a card on turn 2 and then turn 3 and then turn 4 you like play this, gain 4. And then the 2 mana card is pretty useful too. Yeah, maybe you actually just like do 1 foretold card on 2 and then just like run out Nico Defies Destiny on 3, gain your 2 life. And then on turn 4 you have mana to either like, yeah, to do whatever you want with foretell. And then the 3 is return target card with foretell from your graveyard to your hand. So this plays really well with the foretell draw spell. You could potentially just like chain this and the foretell draw spell together over and over again and gain life and mana and all that stuff. It's dirtly, but we've seen dirtly uncommon enchantments see play in control shells before. The Foretell Time Walk Bird card. I'm pretty sure that card exiles itself. Oh, you just want to use it to like have the mana to cast the Bird Time Walk? Sure. Yeah, I don't hate that. Is the blue-red giant one better for dirtling? I think if you're doing like a bunch of foretell stuff specifically, then Nico works really well. Like, I don't think the life gain is irrelevant. The life gain could actually be really huge if your opponent's like applying pressure while you're just exiling your hand. Yeah, right. Life gain and mana and recursion, like all of those are good in a dirtle deck. Those are all things that a blue-white control foretell deck might want. So it's not like any one of these abilities is backbreaking in and of itself. Is that they're all good is what is interesting about it to me. Possible that it's not good enough, but I think it's a little exciting. The Raven's Warning, 1 white blue. 1, create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying, you gain 2 life. Sure. 2, whenever 1 or more creatures you control with flying deal combat damage to a player this turn, look at that player's hand and draw a card. Alright, so you get to peek and draw a card on 2. And then 3 is you may put a card you own from outside the game on top of your library. That is a weird vampiric tutor. I can't tell if I like this card or not. Kind of makes my brain hurt. Underwhelming? Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. I think underwhelming is correct. You like draw a card, damn tutor a card, but it takes several turns, and you get a bird. It does a lot of things. It does do a lot of things. Are those things you want? Is questionable. Yeah, I think it might be a little too slow for what it does. Alright, Sarulf, Realm Eater. 1 black-green, legendary creature Wolf. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Sarulf, Realm Eater. Many of your upkeep, if Sarulf has 1 or more 1/1 counters on it. Whenever Sarulf has 1 or more 1/1 counters on it, you may remove all of them. If you do, exile each other non-land permanent with convert mana cost less than or equal to... Oh my god. Some of these cards, I like get to the end of them, and I still have no fucking clue what they do. There's so many words. Oh, man. I'm a video game streamer. This isn't a library. Alright, so Sarulf Realm Eater. 1 green-black. It's a legendary creature. It's a wolf. It's a 3/3. Alright, those are fine. Those are fine stats. 3 mana for a 3/3 wolf. The art's sweet. You got this sweet wolf here. Does it do something relevant? I don't know. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard, you get a 1/1 counter. Okay, so they crack a fetch, you get a 1/1 counter. You kill their thing, they get a 1/1 counter. At the beginning of your upkeep, if it has 1 or more 1/1 counters on it, you remove all of them. So you don't get to choose to remove some, you have to remove all of them. Go back down to a base 3/3. If you do, exile each other non-land permanent with convert mana cost less than or equal to the number of counters removed this way. So you get like a weird exile of Pernicious Steed for the number of counters that you decide to pitch off Sarulf. So you know why this card is good. This card is good because the opponent is not going to know what the fuck it does or how to play around it, and they're going to walk into the ability, and you're like, ah, gotcha. And that's that's like the ceiling of Sarulf Realm Eater. It's just that it's going to be super obnoxious to play against. It's not very, what's the word? It's not very sticky. It doesn't have any ability to, like, keep it alive versus removal or whatever, and it is a legend, so you don't have to play a ton. But for 3 mana for a 3/3 that grows, doesn't have to be that good, I don't think. Good against tokens? Sure. Just sure. A must kill? Yeah, but it's a must kill that's also easy to kill. You think the card looks worse than people think it is? I mean, we're used to all of our cards like having comes into play value. And that makes that sort of thing worse for sure. That it's not necessarily going to do anything. You might just like play it and not get any value out of it. It might even be stuck as a 3/3. Alright, Showdown of the Scalds. 2 red, white. 1, exile the top 4 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Sure. So it's like the Rite of Flame effect. Or not Rite of Flame. Fucking the 2 and a red. Exile the top 2 cards of your library thing. Or more like Escape, right? The more recent 5 mana, the Gruul card. Yeah, I was thinking of Light Up the Stage, sorry. Or Escape, yeah. Anyway, and then 2 mana is whenever you cast a spell this turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Well, that's kind of cool. So you're sort of drawing 4 cards. You can play the lands off this too. If you want to make sure that you can play both lands, if you hit 2 lands, then you're not playing this until turn 5. The real question with Showdown of the Scalds, I think this card's good. The real question is, like, does it have a home? Can you put this in a card in a deck where you're actually getting value of the second and third parts of the saga? 4 mana draw 4 is obviously good enough. Escape was a card that I wasn't sure would find a home. and then ended up being really good. Part of that was being able to play an extra land, but this also costs some mana cheaper. Pump 2 things. There's some trade-off. A Jeskai deck? Yeah, it could fit a Jeskai deck well. Maybe you put this in your giant tribal deck. Boros has creatures. Yeah, I mean, depending on the Boros deck, right? Red-white always sucks. Maybe. I don't think this card sucks. I think this card is quite good. Link it with Yorion, draw more cards. Yeah, yeah. Can you combo this with Devoted Druid? Interesting question. It looks like it. It's not like the best combo ever. So you would cast a spell and put a 1/1 counter on Devoted Druid, and then you would get to untap Devoted Druid again. You still have a limited number of spells. You don't get like infinite mana with Devoted Druid, but you could get more untaps in a turn. Escape to the Wilds has taught you not to underestimate an effect like that. Yeah. Yeah, right? 4 cards is a lot of cards. 4 cards is certainly a lot of cards. And that's why I'm not counting out Showdown of the Scalds. Alright, Svella, Ice Shaper. 1 red-green, legendary snow creature, Troll Warrior. 3 mana, create a colorless snow artifact named Icy Manolith with tap, add 1 mana of any color. So it's a troll that spits out more snow mana rocks. And then for 8 mana, you look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost, but the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. This is a great limited card. 3 mana for a 2/4. It's a snow card. It spits out things that generate snow mana. That's like super relevant. And then it's a ramp spell and a payoff, both combined in 1 card. I don't think it's costed for constructed play. I don't think it's like aggressively costed enough to make this interesting for constructed, but that's okay. Not every card has to be. Yeah, card's sweet. Alright, the 3 seasons. Blue, green, 1 mill 3 cards. 2, return up to 2 target snow permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. And then 3 is choose 3 cards in each graveyard. Their owners shuffle those cards into the library. Interesting. This card reminds me of Modern Horizons. I've been talking about Modern Horizons a lot over this set review, and I think that's a good thing. I'm like pretty excited to play this limited format. Like, this looks like the sort of card that's just going to be stone unplayable, but there'll be a limited deck for it, and it'll be good there. You said it looks like another wood carving. Yeah, it looks sculptural, right? I can't even like see close enough to see if it's like wood or what, but yeah, it does look like another carving. Is this limited format going to be as complicated as a master set? Well, usually I do a set review and it takes me between 5 and 7 hours. We're 10 hours in and still going strong. I don't know if that answers your question. The Trickster God's Heist, 2 blue, black. 1, you may exchange control of 2 target creatures. So you're swapping, right? Your worst creature for their best creature. 2, you may exchange control of 2 target non-basic non-creature permanents that share a card type. That could be a saga. You could be swapping this saga for your opponent's better saga, or saga that hasn't gotten as much value yet. And it says non-basic non-creature permanents, so you could be swapping lands even. Or planeswalkers. It has to be... Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of sweet. Demonic Pact. Oh yeah, if they have a if they have an enchantment, just get them. Just get them. They have to share a card type though. The only lands can be basic, so it's just saying you can't like swap your island for their mountain. It has to be your wasteland for the breeding pool or whatever. And then the third is target player loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Yeah, so the Trickster God's Heist, like, swapping itself doesn't seem bad at all, right? Like, you let the opponent have a 6-point swing, but then you get the actual value out of their saga. It's probably going to be better if you get a creature or something. But best case scenario, you're swapping, like, your shitty Planeswalker for their awesome Planeswalker. Doesn't have to be a non-creature permanent. There's a good chance that the second mode of this whiffs. This card's obviously good. Like, if you were just playing it for the first mode, it would be good enough. And then sometimes the second and third modes are going to be good. Alright, Vega the Watcher. 1 white-blue. Legendary creature, Bird Spirit. Flying whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, draw a card. It's a 2/2. Yeah, this card doesn't excite me. It's obviously a good limited card. It's obviously a great limited card. The art is amazing. The art on the alt version is also amazing. I actually don't know which art I prefer, but the card itself doesn't interest me for constructed play. But obviously, a great limited card. Very first pickable. Waking the Trolls. 4 red-green. 1 destroy target land. 2 put target land card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And then 3 choose target opponent if they control fewer lands than you. Create a number of 4/4 green troll warrior creature tokens with trample equal to the difference. This card's interesting. 6-mana land destruction's a little lackluster, but you're not just doing land destruction, right? Like, you're ramping into this, and then it's giving you a land. It's like ramping you while LDing them. And then you're playing it in a ramp deck, so you're going to get a bunch of 4/4s out of it too. Like, I don't know how many 4/4s you need. The destroy a land and then put their land into the graveyard and onto the battlefield under your control. That's kind of like an Annex, right? Annex is good enough at 4 mana. This is a 6-mana card. If you annex their land, your third stage is probably going to be giving you 4/4s, right? This is like how many? Obviously, an annex on turn 6. You know, you don't want to be playing this on turn 6, though. You want to be ramping into it. But a 6-mana annex is obviously a lot worse than a 4-mana one. You're saying this will be bonkers? Maybe. It's certainly interesting. It's certainly worth testing. This seems like the sort of card that I would want in a ramp mirror, except I might be behind in a ramp mirror. But it rewards you also for, like, not being in a ramp mirror and just, like, having all the lands in the world, because then you get a bunch of 4/4s. The way that I draw lands, that third mode is just, like, always making an army. Just always making a giant army. Oh, you want to play this with actual factual annex? Does this get beaten by blue-green ramp? Well, you would play this in blue-green ramp. You'd be ramping yourself. Is the idea. Could be a sideboard card. Disrupting the opponent's mana base in a ramp mirror isn't terrible, so even though you're less likely to make 4/4s, like, it's still good. So I was planning on doing colorless and gold as all one section, but I kind of need a break. My voice actually needs a break. I've been talking a lot. There's been a lot of words. I'm gonna take a quick break and go refill my water. I'm also empty on water and soda, so that's also very important. Those sagas were very wordy. There was a lot of text on those. Then when I come back, this last section I think is going to be shorter. There's a lot of, like, lands and stuff that won't take that long to clear through. There's all these snow-covered lands and shit. That's not going to take us very long. I might even, like, edit the sections together in the YouTube video, but I'll be back in a couple minutes. And then we'll play a little bit of Vintage Masters to close out the night.